My fiancé wouldn't sign the prenup, saying it's a slap, so I scrapped the venue and shut down the wedding in public. The next morning, her dad was at my door. She told me, "The door is open if you don't like it." And I just stood there, watching her taillights disappear, realizing my entire world was about to shatter. The cold night air hit me as I stood alone in that dimly lit parking lot, the sound of her tires fading into the oppressive silence. My name is Michael. I'm 38, working in commercial real estate. Up until that Friday night, I genuinely believed my marriage to Olivia was solid. Not perfect, sure, but solid. We'd been together for 9 years, married for 6. We had this routine, you know? Every other week, dinner out, just the two of us. No phones, no work, just us reconnecting, like we promised we always would. That Friday was supposed to be special. Olivia picked the place, a new wine bar in downtown Chicago she'd been raving about. Her coworkers couldn't stop talking about it. Driving there, I actually felt optimistic. I thought, maybe this was her finally putting effort back in, because honestly, it felt like I'd been the only one trying for a while. When I pulled into the lot, her car was already there. I walked in, and she was at the bar, just chatting, laughing with the bartender. It was this animated, carefree laugh, the kind I hadn't heard from her in months, and it actually made me smile. She saw me, waved me over, and for a second, everything felt normal. Like we were just a regular couple on a regular date night. We settled into a table near the windows, ordered a bottle of red. For about 15 minutes, it felt like old times. Like we were truly present. She talked about her week, some work drama with a project manager. I listened, asked questions, and thought, yeah, maybe we are getting back to something good. Then she saw him. A guy at the bar, mid-30s, business casual. Her entire energy shifted. My stomach dropped before my brain even processed why. She didn't say a word, just straightened up, and did that thing with her hair, tucking it behind her ear, a gesture I knew from our early days, a clear signal she wanted to look her best for someone. I watched her eyes follow him as he moved to a booth. Then she pulled out her phone, texting with a small smile that clearly wasn't for me. I asked what was funny. She mumbled, nothing, just my sister, but angled the screen away. That's when I felt the first real flutter of something being deeply wrong. The guy, Ben, looked over, made eye contact with Olivia, and gave her a casual wave. Instead of introducing me, or even explaining who he was, she waved back, then physically turned her entire body towards him, shoulder to me. It felt like I was suddenly alone. I tried to pull her back, commented on the wine, asked if she wanted to split the charcuterie board, normal date talk. She just said, sure, without looking at me, or the menu. Her focus was gone. She was checking her phone every few seconds, waiting for something. Ben then got up and walked toward our table. This weird tension gripped my chest, like I was about to witness something I absolutely didn't want to see. When he reached us, Olivia's face lit up, a genuine sparkle I hadn't seen in months, maybe longer. "Oh my God, Ben, I didn't know you came here," she exclaimed. He mumbled something about it being his favorite spot, and then they just started talking. Like I wasn't even there. Like I was a coat draped over the back of her chair. I sat there, wineglass in hand, wondering if I should speak up, introduce myself, anything to assert my presence. But they never acknowledged me. The longer it went, the more invisible I felt. Ben leaned on our table, casually invading our space. And Olivia? She was laughing at everything he said. That high-pitched, genuine laugh she used to save for me. I couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like that at anything I'd said. I tried again, made a weak joke about the artisanal selections on the menu. Olivia barely glanced at me before turning back to Ben, asking if he was still consulting or had finally made the jump to full-time. That's when it hit me, I wasn't part of this moment. I was just there. An observer. Ben stayed at our table for what felt like 10 minutes, but was probably closer to 5. Not once did Olivia try to include me. Not once did she acknowledge this was our date, our time. When Ben finally said he should get back to his table, "Good seeing you," Olivia told him they should catch up soon. She emphasized soon in a way that left no doubt she meant it. He agreed, then walked away. The moment he left, the energy at our table died. Olivia was still smiling, riding some kind of high from the interaction. I just sat there, really looking at her, and seeing someone I wasn't sure I recognized anymore. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, non-confrontational. She said he was just someone she knew from a few years back. Mutual friends, no big deal. But the way she said it felt rehearsed, like she was guarding a secret. I asked if they'd dated. She rolled her eyes, hard, and snapped, "Relax." The tone wasn't reassuring. It was dismissive. Like I was an idiot for even asking. That word, relax, hit me wrong. It wasn't about calming me. It was about shutting me down, making my discomfort an inconvenience to her. We sat in silence. I tried to reset, tried to salvage the evening. I asked about her week, and she gave me short, distracted answers, eyes glued to her phone. It felt like I was performing a monologue to an empty room. I put my fork down. "Olivia," I said, "are we good?" She looked at me like I'd asked the dumbest question on earth. "We're fine, Michael." "You're overthinking." But her voice had this sharp edge, this frustration that I was interrupting whatever fantasy she was living inside her head. I didn't say another word. Just watched her finish her wine, scroll on her phone. And I thought about all the times in the past year I'd felt this exact way, competing for her attention, and losing to something I couldn't even name. The waiter asked about dessert. Olivia said no without asking me, declared she was tired and wanted to go home. I just nodded, paid the check, left an overly generous tip, feeling embarrassed for the waiter. We walked to the parking lot in silence. She was already texting, probably Ben. A crushing weight settled in my chest. We'd driven separately, me from a site visit, her from the office. Before getting in her car, she turned. "You know, if you're going to be weird about me talking to people, maybe you should just stay home." I stood there, reeling, trying to understand how I became the problem. I told her I wasn't being weird, I just wanted to spend time together, us, like we planned. She let out this dismissive laugh, not kind at all, and said, "Doors open if you don't like it." Then she got in her car and drove off, not waiting for a response. I stood there, keys in hand, watching her tail lights vanish. Something fundamental cracked inside me. Her words didn't hurt, they clarified everything. She wasn't fighting for us. She wasn't acknowledging a problem. She was giving me permission to leave, like it didn't matter. Like I was optional. Like I'd always been. I drove home, hands shaking, not from anger, but from this bizarre clarity. It felt like waking from a dream I didn't even know I was in. The 20-minute drive stretched for hours. My mind replayed every dismissive glance, every time she chose her phone over me, every laugh she'd given Ben that she'd withheld from me. Olivia's car was already in the driveway. I sat in my own for a few minutes, trying to figure out what to do with the feeling in my chest, a certainty that something fundamental had broken, beyond repair, beyond any conversation or apology. I walked inside. She was on the couch, still in her jacket, phone in hand, like she couldn't even be bothered to settle in. She didn't look up when I entered. Just kept scrolling, like I was a roommate coming home late, not her husband of 6 years. I went to the kitchen, poured water, waited for her to say something, to acknowledge the bar. Nothing. Just that bubble of complete indifference. I watched her, drinking my water. And I started noticing all the little things I'd ignored for months, the private smile at her phone, the way she'd angle it away when I walked past, how much more alive she seemed texting than talking to me. Around 11, my phone buzzed. A text from her, even though she was just downstairs. It read, "You embarrassed me tonight." I stared at it, trying to fathom how she'd completely flipped the script. I was the problem now? A minute later, another text, "You always overreact when I talk to people." It's exhausting. I didn't respond. I knew anything I said would just be twisted into proof that I was the unreasonable one. I went upstairs, got ready for bed, lay there staring at the ceiling. She stayed downstairs for another hour, and I could hear her laughing at something on her phone. That exact laugh she'd given Ben. And I realized this feeling, of being secondary in my own marriage, wasn't new. I'd just been ignoring it, because acknowledging it meant I'd have to do something. She came to bed around midnight. No good night. She just turned away, fell asleep in minutes, like nothing was wrong. And I understood, to her, nothing was wrong. This was her normal. This was how she saw us. I barely slept. Spent most of the night replaying the last year. All the plans she made without me. The conversations where she'd check out mid-sentence. All the times I chased her attention and never quite caught it. I'd made so many excuses for her, stressed with work, every couple has phases, it'll get better if I just try harder. Around 5 in the morning, I got up. Went to the spare room, where we kept our luggage, and started packing a bag for a week. Moving quietly, not really caring if I woke her, just being mindful. My laptop, important documents, my grandfather's watch. As I packed, it hit me, this wasn't a trip. I was packing to leave. Actually leave. And the thought didn't scare me. Not at all. I walked back to our bedroom, took off my wedding ring, placed it on my nightstand next to a book I'd never finish. I looked at Olivia, sleeping peacefully. And I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just a calm, quiet acceptance that I didn't want to be there anymore. No note. No explanation. What more was there to say after that parking lot conversation? I grabbed my bag, keys, phone charger, and walked out of the house we'd bought 3 years ago, the one that was supposed to be our forever home. With every step toward my car, I felt lighter. I drove to my brother Alex's place across town, arriving at 6 in the morning. He opened the door in sweatpants, confused, until he saw my face and the bag. He just stepped aside, let me in without a word. Over coffee, I told him everything, the bar, Ben, the texts, the ring on the nightstand. He didn't try to talk me out of it, didn't say I was overreacting. He just listened, asked a few questions, then said I could stay as long as I needed. Around 8, I called my office, told them I was taking a personal week. Then I called a lawyer Alex recommended, Attorney Miller. She had a reputation for being straightforward, efficient. That afternoon, I walked into her office, wedding ring heavy in my pocket like evidence, and laid out the situation in about 10 minutes. She asked about infidelity. I said, I didn't know. Didn't really care. I just wanted out. She nodded, like she'd heard that exact sentence 100 times. We discussed assets, the house, the accounts. She told me the first step was to separate all financials, protect myself before Olivia even realized what was happening and tried to lock me out. She was so matter-of-fact, no judgment, just strategic advice. I appreciated that more than words could say. I spent the rest of the day changing passwords, moving money from our joint accounts into a new personal one, documenting everything. It felt efficient, almost mechanical, like I was closing a business deal, not ending my marriage. Olivia called around noon, 3 missed calls, back to back. Then a voicemail, "Where are you? Your car is gone." Her tone was more annoyed than worried, like I'd inconvenienced her by disappearing. I didn't call back, didn't text. Just kept working my list. Another call at 2, then 4. By 6, she was texting, "This is childish, Michael. Call me back." I looked at that message and felt absolutely nothing. No guilt. No urge to explain. She'd told me the door was open. I just walked through it, exactly as she suggested. Alex came home from work, found me on his couch, laptop open, surrounded by papers. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was better than I'd been in months. And it was true. Everything was falling apart, yes, but it was falling apart in a direction I controlled. After Olivia's 20th call that evening, after endless voicemails, a seesaw of confusion and anger, I blocked her number. Not out of spite, but because I needed silence. Needed space to think without her voice in my head telling me I was overreacting, or being dramatic. I slept better on Alex's couch that night than I had in my own bed in years. Waking up the next morning, I felt like I'd made the first real decision for myself in a very long time. Attorney Miller called Saturday afternoon. Paperwork ready. Asked if I was sure. Yes, I said, without hesitation. She'd file everything Monday. I stayed at Alex's all weekend, didn't go back, ignored Olivia's attempts to reach me through mutual friends. And with every hour, I felt the weight of 9 years starting to lift. She told me the door was open. I walked through it. Now she was learning what it felt like when someone actually took her literally. That first week after I left felt like finally coming up for air after holding my breath underwater for years. I stayed at Alex's, set up a makeshift office, worked remotely. I ignored the flood of messages coming from every channel once Olivia realized I'd blocked her. Emails, social media, even her sister called me twice. The pattern was always the same: guilt, then nostalgia, then anger when nothing worked. 1. Email read, "I can't believe you're throwing away 9 years over nothing." I deleted it. She'd shown me exactly how much those 9 years meant to her in that wine bar, when she couldn't spare me 5 minutes of genuine attention. Another message came via a mutual friend, one of those "hey man, just checking in" texts, which I knew meant Olivia had sent a scout. I told the friend I was fine, and to please not get involved. This was between me and Olivia. Attorney Miller called on day 10. Papers filed, Olivia served. She mentioned Olivia's reaction was apparently dramatic. Lots of questions about why I didn't try counseling, or give her a chance to fix things. I told Attorney Miller the chance to fix things was every day of our marriage, before she told me the door was open. The next wave of messages shifted tactics completely. Suddenly, she was reflective, apologetic. She understood now. She'd taken me for granted. Didn't realize how much I meant to her until I was gone. We could work on it, if I just came home and talked. I read them once. I recognized them for what they were, not genuine change, but strategy. Words designed to pull me back into a position where I could be managed, controlled. I didn't respond. Forwarded everything to Attorney Miller, just like she told me to. I just kept living my life in this new, quiet way. Strange, but good. Alex asked one night, over takeout pizza, if I missed her. I had to really think about it. And I realized I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of what I thought we were. But that version, it never truly existed outside my head. I'd been in love with potential, with the person I hoped she'd become, not who she actually was. Work kept me busy. I had a big commercial property deal closing, and I threw myself into it. Partly as a distraction, sure, but mostly because I could. Nobody was making me feel guilty for focusing on my career, or staying late to review contracts. Around week 3, Olivia's mom called. That surprised me. We'd always gotten along, and I expected her to automatically take her daughter's side. She said Olivia had given her version, I'd abandoned her without explanation, left her hurt and confused. But she also said she'd been married long enough to know there were always two sides, and she wanted to hear mine. I gave her the short version, the bar, Ben, the dismissal, the door comment. There was a long pause. Then she said, "That sounds like Olivia." Her tone was sad, but not surprised, like she'd been waiting for this conversation for years. She told me she tried to talk to Olivia about how she treated people, how she made everyone feel secondary, how she'd done it in past relationships. She was sorry I'd been on the receiving end. That conversation, it did something for me. It validated that I wasn't crazy or oversensitive. Other people had seen it too. The social fallout started slowly, then accelerated. Shared friends reached out, asking what happened. I kept my answers simple: we wanted different things. Left it at that. Olivia, though, wasn't so diplomatic. I heard through Alex that she was telling people I'd had some kind of breakdown, that I'd left over a minor argument at dinner, that she was devastated and trying to get me help. The story was crafted to paint her as the victim and me as unstable. Some believed it, the casual acquaintances. But our closer friends, the ones who'd actually seen us together over the years, they started asking questions. And Olivia's narrative began to crumble under scrutiny. A month in, one of her best friends from college called me. She'd watched Olivia's social media become this performance of sadness, posts about healing, growth, finding herself that felt utterly hollow. She admitted she'd never seen Olivia actually fight for the marriage, just fight to control the narrative of its ending. By week 5, Olivia requested a meeting through attorney Miller. She wanted closure, wanted to understand. My lawyer advised against it, but I agreed. I wanted this chapter closed completely, without any lingering what-ifs. We met at a coffee shop near downtown, neutral territory, midday on a Wednesday. She looked tired, a way makeup couldn't hide, like she hadn't been sleeping well. She started talking before I even sat down. Said she'd had time to think, realized what she'd done wrong, understood she'd taken me for granted. All the things I might have wanted to hear 2 months ago. I let her finish, let her say her piece. Then I said, "Olivia, you told me the door was open. I walked through it. That's all that happened here." She got frustrated. Said I was being cold, not even trying, that I owed her more after 9 years. In that moment, I realized she wanted me to fight for her. To prove she mattered by chasing her, by begging her. And I was done playing that game. She asked what she was supposed to do now. I told her, sign the papers, move on. Same as me. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd always been. I left that coffee shop, got in my car, drove back to Alex's without looking in the rearview mirror. All I felt was relief. It was finally over. The divorce finalized 3 months later, quick, clean. No kids, and she stopped fighting once she realized I wasn't coming back, that no amount of tears or apologies would change my mind. I moved into my own apartment downtown. 1 bedroom, big windows, morning light, hardwood floors, a space entirely mine. I built a life that didn't require me to compete for attention or apologize for simply existing. I started going to the gym again, something I'd stopped because Olivia always commented on how long I was gone. I reconnected with college friends I'd lost touch with because she never wanted to do couple things with them. I took a solo weekend trip to the mountains, something I'd wanted for years, but she'd always shot down because she didn't like hiking. Olivia moved on too, I heard. Dating someone new within a few months. I hoped, for his sake, she treated him better than she treated me. But honestly, I didn't think about it much. She wanted me to see life without her attention, wanted to make me feel small enough to be grateful for her scraps. Instead, I let her see life without my presence. Without someone willing to bend, accommodate, or disappear to make room for her ego. Memory wasn't a reason to return to a place where I'd been diminished. I'd learned that the hard way. 6 months after I left, I ran into her at a grocery store, a random Tuesday afternoon. She tried to start a conversation, asked how I was doing. I kept it brief, polite, but distant. And I walked away. I saw her watching me leave. And I knew, finally, she understood. I wasn't coming back. The door she told me was open had closed behind me permanently. She wanted me to see life without her attention. I let her see life without my presence. What would you have done in my place?